Hey guys, it is Saturday, March 27th, 2021, and I am Samantha K, and this is the Samantha K Experience. Well, guys, welcome to episode 8. I'm happy to be here, and I hope you guys are doing well on this fine Saturday afternoon. Well, to start things off, we're going to be talking about The Mentalist Season 2. This is going to be part of our Retro Corner. So basically, what I mean by Retro Corner, and I know I've introduced this idea in previous episodes, basically we're going to talk about old TV shows or movies, things that happened maybe years ago that I'm just now reviewing for the first time. So The Mentalist has been a show that I've been watching for pretty much for a few weeks now. I'm now in the final 7th season of the show, but I realized that a few weeks have went by and I haven't really reviewed the show as much. So I'm hoping today that I will get the opportunity to do season 2 of The Mentalist. So for those of you guys know, I've covered the show on a previous episode and we discussed in length about the character known as Patrick Jane, played by Simon Baker. So basically, just to reiterate, Patrick Jane is this guy who is seemingly to be a psychic, but he just has the ability to read people. Like, he analyzes people's mannerisms, like the way how they look, the way how they sound. Basically, he's very observant to how a person behaves. So he was working with the police to try to catch this killer known by the name of Red John, and he was on a talk show and he said some things that upset the killer. So one night, I believe it was the same night that after he was on the show, he came home to find his wife and daughter murdered. So from then on, Patrick has made it his mission to try to find out who is Red John and pretty much kill him and put a stop to any further crimes that Red John has been committing because of his family's murder, or just put a stop to him in general. So with that being said, he starts working with this team out in California. I guess it's like the state version of the FBI. They're called the CBI, which is the California Bureau of Investigations. And the person he works with, her name is Teresa Lisbon. I realized in a previous episode I called her Elizabeth, but just to correct myself, her name is Teresa Lisbon. So Lisbon, who's played by Robin Tunney. Those of you who probably don't know who Robin Tunney is, if you guys are the fan of The Craft, she is the main protagonist of the movie. She's the girl with the red curly hair, who's brought into the group by Fairuza, Balk, and oh my gosh, I can't remember the other two girls' names right now, but basically you get my point. She works as she also has a boss that she works under, but she's pretty much head of the task force and working these criminal cases. So Jane ends up working with her and her team, which consists of a guy named Rigsby, this guy named Cho, and then they have a newcomer rookie named Grace Van Pelt. So like I said before, Grace Van Pelt and Patrick clash a little bit about values and what's really a psychic and if a psychic is really real or not. And she comes from a different place of her aunt is a psychic or clairvoyant, and he's just pretty much like, it's all about how a person acts and behaves, and it's not anything like rocket science. So they clash a little bit. But season 2 picks up where season 1 left off, where Jane doesn't unfortunately get to capture Red John. So we're still looking for Red John and trying to find out who this guy is or who this person is. So season 2 introduced a lot of new characters. Malcolm McDonald is actually introduced in the show, and if anybody who knows Malcolm McDonald, I'm like so really like messed up with names right now. Like I just can't speak apparently. Losing the ability to speak, folks. Oh my gosh. So basically, he runs this corporation or cult or church-like place called Visualize. So right there, he's like one of the main antagonists of the show now. So he and Patrick bump heads. They're pretty much like, I would say, rivals, but Patrick pretty much is just a rival to practically anybody he meets. Because his personality is just very, very, like, he has no regard for the human condition, so to speak. He's like really not good with, he's very, to say that he's tactful is a complete opposite of what he actually is. Like, there's no tact about this guy. He's just really rude when it comes to certain things. Like, even when talking to potential suspects, it's just like, even just going to their house, he will say certain things. Like, he has this ability to go to their kitchen, he makes tea, like he just makes himself relatively comfortable in their place. And he's just like rude. Like, he'll say like, oh, well, you're having an affair with your wife and your husband, or cheating on your husband, excuse me. And he's just pretty much just one of those guys that, he just says a lot and he shouldn't be saying it. And over the course of time, he's gotten punched in his face a few times. So I think right there is just hilarious to me that, he just always pushes the envelope and he never seems to stop. So I guess that's his type of personality, the type of person that he is. So I don't want to give too much away, because I know in the past I've spoiled a lot and I've pretty much give away everything that goes on in the show. I must say that season 2, I actually liked season 2 a lot. They also introduced a new character, a new CBI agent named Sam Bosco, who was a former partner of Lisbon's back in the day before she joined the CBI. And they hint that there might have been something going on between Bosco and Lisbon back in the day, which probably caused Lisbon to leave working the force in order to come to work at the CBI. They talk about it in a little bit, like they touch base on it, but it is mentioned later on, as the season progressed, that they might have had feelings, even though that he was married at the time. So, and she was his partner. So there might have been a little bit of a relationship on the side going on between Lisbon and Bosco. So Bosco ends up working in another department under their boss, and I forgot what their boss's name. His name was, oh my goodness, what was his name? Jesus, I know his name was Virgil. The character's name was Virgil Manelli. He was a CBI director. And Sam Bosco, who's played by Terry Kinney, those of us who probably grew up in the mid-90s know of a series show on HBO called Oz. And he played I think he was the psychiatrist. Was he the psychiatrist? Well, he played McManus. I remember his character's name. But yeah, he played McManus on Oz. I used to watch that show, even though I shouldn't have had no business watching that show. But yeah, so long story short, he gets introduced in season 1. He eventually is sort of like part of the team, but he's not really part of the team. Something happens, and then Bosco ends up becoming, he pretty much outranks Lisbon. So they take over. When he comes in, he ends up taking over the Red John case, much to the dismay of Patrick, who they confiscate all his records, that any documents that he seemingly would have had based off of Red John. They confiscate that because they figured that he's too close. He's not looking at the case objectively, and he's just pretty much like getting in the way and messing up their investigation. Because unbeknownst to everyone, that the CBI has been working with the FBI to try to capture Red John. And, it's been a lot of twists and turns because you don't really know who is Red John at this point, and you won't find out until much later in the seasons who Red John really is. So it is a character that we've seen previously before. That's as much as I'm going to tell you in a spoiler. But I think to some people, it might not be somebody that they might have thought to be Red John, which coming down, the wire, if you watch the show in the later seasons, like season 3 and 4 and 5, and even beginning of season 6, you're kind of like, okay, I got like a few people as suspects, but you're really still not quite sure yet. At least that was from my perspective, my point of view on it. But yeah, anyway, so Patrick, the whole series, basically it gets to a point where Bosco unfortunately pays the ultimate sacrifice, and he ends up telling Jane that to continue to work on Red John because he's no longer able to work on Red John. So I think with season 2, I like the fact that they show a little bit more backstory into like certain characters. Like my favorite character is Agent Cho. If anybody ever watches the show, if you guys ever take the chance to watch the show, I kid you not, you are going to love Agent Cho. Like, he is hilarious. Like, I remember that he's so, like, I remember saying in a previous episode that he was like so straight faced. Cho is like, I love him to death. Like, he is my favorite character, hands down is my favorite character of the show. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, even now that I'm almost done with this series, I can honestly still say that to this day, Cho is obviously my favorite character. And it's nothing against Jane and Lisbon and Rigsby and Van Pelt, and some other characters, but it's just something about Cho that makes me really like him, because not only that he's just straight faced, he's straight to the point. Even if he does crack a smile, it's over, he doesn't let everyone see that he has more than one emotion to him. A lot of times, this guy, like, he's just awesome. Like, he was in a former gang, and then he turned his life around. He went into the service. He graduated from the service, then he became I guess a cop, and then he became part of the CBI. And he's just straight faced. He takes no ish, and he's just really like, he's like one of those guys you really don't want to mess with. He's not even a really extremely tall guy, but he has such a large presence when he hits the screen. It's just crazy, and like he's just so cool. Like, the fact that they gave him more backstory in the second season, it makes me like, wow, he has more character development. It was only just because of one conversation that he has with Rigsby. Apparently that they were looking at each other's files, and Rigsby discovers while they were on a case, while they were out in the field, Rigsby discovers that Cho used to be in a gang, and Cho was part of a certain lifestyle. And I said, well, that kind of explains why he's just so serious all the time. They do have a episode dedicated to him, I believe, in the same season, where they attack his girlfriend, and for some strange reason you never see the girlfriend again after that episode. So I don't know what happened. So during that episode, I think he gets injured and he hurts his back. So there's a little time where he gets a little bit addicted to certain pills and stuff. So for the back pain, because he tends to chase down the suspects a lot and jump to catch them, so to tackle them. So he really is active in the field. And like I said, like, he really is like, he takes no crap. So I think that's one of the reasons why I like the show so much, because even though that his character has gotten an upgrade in his job, that Cho is still Cho and he doesn't change. So I love that about him. I think he's one of the few characters that really and truly have not changed over the course of the show, for better or worse. Like, he's still the same, and he's just really cool. But yeah, I know season 2, basically, like, we're still no closer to finding out who Red John is. I think that for me, I like the mystery of Red John. I like how each episode is pretty much describes the word red in some shape or form. It changes towards the last season or so, that the names of the episodes change. But for the most part, I love the fact that, that there's still a mystery surrounding who Red John is, and we're still like trying to figure out, like, just like Patrick is, who the heck is this person, and how far does this entity goes, because it seems like every time that Patrick gets a little bit closer to finding out who Red John is, Red John always manages to be 1 or 2 steps ahead, and he ends up killing somebody who might be affiliated with him, because he doesn't want Patrick to find out who he is. So it's like a cat and mouse game in season 2, trying to find out who he is, and they're still solving cases. And there's also a budding romance between Rigsby and Van Pelt, even though that under the CBI rules of conduct, that no staff are allowed to have or be in a relationship. I mean, they could be in a relationship if one of them leaves to go someplace else, but it seems like it's hinted that the two of them might have a relationship. I don't want to give away too much, because I know you guys want to watch the show, if you guys choose to watch the show. But yeah, honestly, I feel like yeah, the season 2 was a really good season. So far I don't have any really negative things to say about season 2. Although I do have a few things that I might have some slight issues with, I guess. I don't know if it's just me, but if any of you have ever watched the show, have you guys ever noticed that when they introduce certain characters that might be intertwined with one of the main characters of the show, with the exception of maybe eventually when we come to find out about Rigsby's dad, which is, I think it's in season 3, if I'm not mistaken, or season 4, somewhere around there. If you guys ever notice, like for example, in season 2, when we're introduced to Cho's girlfriend, and she gets battered and a little beat up in the episode. After that, we never hear anything about her anymore. We don't hear that they broke up. All we know is that she's never seen or heard from again, not even spoken about. Like, they just create throwaway characters for the sake of throwing away characters. And I don't know if it's because of the showrunner thought that these characters were of no consequence, weren't really important, but we didn't even know that Cho had a girlfriend to begin with until we saw him talking to her in his house, or at her house. I was like, wait, he has a girlfriend? Because there was a hint that he was they were trying to say that there was a case where this Asian woman was trying to get him to talk to her, I think her granddaughter or her niece. I don't know if it was the same girl, if he actually got the number or anything like that from that woman, but it was implied that he ended up dating somebody, and I'm just like, why were we not privy to this before? Like, we don't even see him interact. All we see him is at work, and that's it, and him doing stakeouts, but we never ever see Cho like, oh, I'm gonna go out on this date or whatever. Like, it just felt weird. And there's a lot of times where they like I'm saying, like, they introduce characters that are throwaway characters. Like, they're either not pertinent to the plot. And I guess, well, for me, I feel like if you're going to introduce a character and they have some interaction with a character from a main character on the show, at least write them out gingerly. Like, don't just be like, okay, they're never seen or heard from again. And there's another time that they do this several times throughout the show, and it's just like, but why would you write it out like that? Like, why would you introduce a character and then you either give him an off-screen kill, or the character is never, or it's just like, oh, well, they went to someplace and that's it. There's no official goodbye. It's just, well, that's it. And in the case with Cho's girlfriend, it's like she just ended up in the phantom zone or something, and she just, never seen or heard from again. It's like she was in the ambulance and that was the last time we ever seen of her, and it was just like, okay, this is awkward. Like, it's just a couple of things that they do that just, make no sense to me. But that's really one of the major factors. And another thing I don't like about is shows that decide that they want to do jumps, like time jumps, as a show, like usually around like maybe season 5 or something, a show would do like a time jump, like maybe a few years time jump. I'm like, dude, I could very well deal with a flashback episode earlier on in the show. I don't need like a flashback episode like all the way up in season 5. And I don't know if it's just the season 7 curse that a lot of these shows like to do time jumps in season 5s or season 6. Like, a lot of it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you could have just told me that like earlier on in the show, like around like season 2. We don't need to wait 4 seasons to tell me about something that should have been told to me like earlier on. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion, guys, and I can't really speak anymore on that. But yeah, overall, like I said, season 2 was good. The Mentalist is a really good show. If you want to laugh and like crime dramas and stuff like that, then I think The Mentalist is the right one for you. The show had ended in 2015. And it's funny because I didn't even know that the show had ended. I think I did remember, but then you forget, things move on. There's always new TV shows out there. But the show was from like 2008 to 2015, so it was on for a while, and I always kept saying, I kept seeing the commercials advertised for it, and I kept saying, damn, I gotta watch the show, but yeah, I'm happy with the show. I'm more happy now that when I'm more closer to the ending of the show, there are a few things that I'm a little sketchy on that I'm going to bring up in the next few seasons, but I just want to like go back and say, like, the show had a lot of guest appearances and stuff, and like a lot of characters, and I'm like, hey, I remember seeing this person from this TV show. So that's one thing I love about watching going back watching a lot of retro shows, that you get to see actors and actresses that you see like current TV shows, and it's cool. Like for instance, Malcolm McDowell. If you guys ever watched Clockwork Orange, he's the main antagonist of the movie. Very, very distinguished actor. I didn't really know Simon Baker before The Mentalist, and I'm be honest with you, I don't think I've ever seen him star in anything since then. Not to say that he hasn't starred in anything since The Mentalist, but for me personally, I haven't seen him star in anything aside from The Mentalist. But I'm gonna give it a shot because I know he's actually Australian, so I would love to hear him, how he sounds in that Australian accent. I'm so used to hearing him talk with an American accent as, Patrick Jane, but I want to hear him speak his language, his accent. Not his language, his accent. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. But yeah, if you guys want to check out the show, go ahead. If you guys don't, then I guess that's cool too. But then again, how would you guys know what I'm talking about? All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't want to give away too much spoilers on the show because, people want to watch the shows and, I can only give a little bit of stuff, but I don't want to give away too much. But right before I go, I just want to tell you guys, I am so thankful for you guys' support and so internally grateful for you guys sticking it out with me throughout all of these weeks. I know I haven't been really consistent around on the show, and it's been really hard because I've tried to find a scheduled time to actually record and then put up the episode for you guys to listen to. And I'm also dealing with other things, life-based things. But you guys already know that already, so I won't really bore you with the details on that. But I just want to say I'm so thankful for you guys, and thank you for giving me and my show a chance. I know in the beginning it was a little bit rough because maybe because I wasn't clear on some of the things that I was saying, but I just want to give you guys my eternal thank yous for being here with me and supporting me and through all of this. And I just hope that I could continue to provide you guys with some really good content and a lot of my opinions. So with that being said, this is the Samantha K Experience, and I'm Samantha K, and I'll check you out next time. Peace.
Yo, poppin' popcast. Love it. Thank you, sis. Moonstruck, love it. You are amazing. So all I can do is pray for greatness for you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. You rock.